This edition of the Ridley Report is brought to you by Mandrake.com. In the early 2000s, comedian and political commentator Bill Maher got into hot water with American nationalists. The reason? He said this, quote, "We have been the cowards lobbing cruise missiles from 2,000 miles away. That's cowardly. Staying in the airplane when it hits the building, say what you want about it, it's not cowardly." Unquote. Now, when a guy runs a show called Politically Incorrect, you'd think people would not get these in a bunch over him saying something politically incorrect. But, much as I like Bill Maher, his statement was only half accurate. Jihadists may not be cowards, but neither are most U.S. soldiers. The word gets overused, the word cowardly. And people seem to throw it at anyone they like, or rather anyone they don't like. I don't have a permit for what?
Use this. They have a permit if you use electricity, have a band playing, and you're serving food.
Liberty activists in New Hampshire are doing something similar against cops. And I don't get it. There are plenty of actual bad things you can say about cops, which are true. So why would you need to say something that usually isn't? Cops, by and large, are not cowards. A coward does not take a job that involves busting down people's doors and pulling over strangers. Now, a sadist might take a job like that, or an authoritarian, but probably not a coward. I realize what the activists are trying to say. They're trying to say that cops are cowardly for not standing up against their own leaders. But to me, the term cowardly is just a little bit overboard. One of the first casualties of conflict is usually the language. Things stop meaning what they used to mean. And when some group or individual commits an abuse,
I told you I want it off now, so you need to shut it off now, so shut it off.
Suddenly they are called cannibals, crazy, cowards. But, of course, they usually aren't any of these things. We could all stand to learn a bit from George Orwell. Here's how he used to look at this sort of stuff. He was writing once about the controversial painter Salvador Dali. He said, quote, "One ought to be able to hold in one's head simultaneously the two facts that Dali is a good draughtsman and a disgusting human being. The one does not invalidate, or in a sense, affect, the other." Unquote.
The only way that you would have to appear in court, you're going to file a set with me for the unregistered.
We ought to be able to do the same thing when we think about cops. Hold simultaneously in our heads the fact that they probably have a type of courage and are also wrong in what they do. The truth is usually at least this complicated.
I don't have any questions.
The truth is rarely one-sided and rarely so extreme. Mandrake.com. It's honey, it's cinnamon, it's phyllo dough.
Milalnika, Tenexaralnika.
And it's famous, but not too famous to be on the Ridley Report. It is George's famous baklava, created by an agorist, shipped to you anywhere in the U.S.
Here's how you can buy it.
Mandrake.com.